Yes, it looks like we are going to drop some bombs on the Syrians. Yep. I was thinking about how the world is different since Barack Obama took over. Let's do the before and after, right? Barack Obama's before and after foreign policy would be the equivalent of Jessica Simpson before and Jessica Simpson when she got fat and gross. Remember? His before and after is embarrassing. It's like a reverse order. Let's look at Egypt. Hosni Mubarak was dictator there for, what was it, about 30 years. 1/3 of Arabs live in Egypt. It was a safe, secure place for the region. They refused any diplomatic ties to Iran, our greatest enemy in the world. They refused diplomatic ties to Iran. They were a staging post for our spies, for our CIA, to train and to gather intelligence in the region. We had economic interests there. We kept the Suez Canal safe for passage. We kept northern Africa somewhat under control from the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda. In fact, they were reduced to Yemen. Are y'all listening in there? Okay. They were reduced to, because it looked like y'all were having a conversation about something other than northern Africa. Bump music. Okay, all right. So the northern Africa was relatively safe because you had no northern African passage, which pushed things into countries like Yemen and Sudan, South Yemen and Sudan, which made it much harder for Al-Qaeda and, to a lesser extent, the Muslim Brotherhood to train, prepare, organize. That was the state of affairs. Then 80,000 people, we don't know who they were. We don't even know that they were Egyptians, gathered in a square that wasn't, by the way, and they decided they didn't like the guy. So he had to go. Barack Obama said, 80,000 people can never be wrong. I love a good crowd yelling for people. Maybe the guys inside's white and they're all black. Let's throw them out. That's how I came to power. So Mubarak was toppled. Immediately, Iran normalized relations with Egypt. Immediately, the country began having problems. Immediately, the Christians were persecuted. By the way, hat tip to Senator Rand Paul today, who tweeted that he no longer believes we should send aid to any country who persecutes Christians. Well said, my man. So anyway, so that was Egypt. The most critical nation in northern Africa was our friend, a friend of Israel, and a keeper of the peace in the region. Anybody observing would say that. This president, and remember Wolf Blitzer, they all said he's responsible for the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring brought the toppling of a man who was our friend and the replacing of him with Morsi, who openly called for destroying America. Coptic churches were destroyed. Christians attacked in the buses. Civil discord. And just short of civil war since then. Check, Barack Obama. Let's move to the west a bit, shall we? We'll skip Tunisia because it's not been in the news as much, but you could pretty much mirror what happened in Libya. So now you look at Libya. Muammar Gaddafi. Regardless how the man spells his name, we had him under control. When Reagan bombed his tent, killed one of his kids, he knew we meant business. When Saddam was toppled, as George H.W. Bush used to say, in 91, when Saddam was toppled in 1991, Gaddafi came forward with his chemical weapons and said, here, just let me stay in control with my pretty nurses and my Swedish assistants and my porn book of Condoleezza Rice fetish pictures. Just let me stay in control and I won't bother anybody. Fair enough. And so that Bedouin ran a nation of Bedouins who didn't bother anybody. No problems out of Libya. Another stronghold for American interests in northern Africa. There's a company based out of Houston that was laying pipe all over Libya, building massive construction projects, multi-million-dollar construction projects, for pipelines, for water and fuel. And Libya was sending that to power Western Europe. But most importantly, geopolitically, it was a safe country. But no, that wasn't good enough. Somehow Obama, in cahoots with that senile old John McCain, decided we got to topple him. We got to topple Gaddafi. We toppled Mubarak, we got to topple Gaddafi. Because Gaddafi didn't bother anybody anymore. Now, he wasn't a good guy. He brought the Lockerbie bombing suspect home when he wasn't really sick. But he wasn't bothering anybody. And the region was safe. And he kept the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda from gaining a stronghold there because he didn't like them, because he knew they were a threat. We had to topple him. Now that we toppled him, what happens? The Muslim Brotherhood takes over. And need I remind you what happened in Benghazi, where the Muslim Brotherhood killed our ambassador and a Navy SEAL and 2 State Department employees? That didn't happen under Gaddafi. That happened under the regime that we brought to power. Strike 2. And then you turn to Syria. 2011, Hillary Clinton described Syria's Assad as...
There's a different leader in Syria now. Many of the members of Congress of both parties who have gone to Syria in recent months have said they believe he's a reformer. What's been happening there the last few weeks is deeply concerning. But there's a difference between calling out aircraft and indiscriminately strafing and bombing your own cities than police actions, which frankly have exceeded the use of force that any of us would want to see.
Who laughs in the middle of a description of strafing and bombing cities? That woman's creepy in the worst possible way. So consider Syria when Obama took over, and Syria now. A very heartfelt birthday to a dear, dear friend of mine. We hear the Michael Berry